Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of True Temperance International, the family health show. We are streaming to you live from season 2 in the series called Fearfully and Wonderfully Made, Know Your Body. Okay, we have fearfully and wonderfully made bodies that we need to get to know about, how they work, what to do when they're not working very well, what we can do to enhance our bodies, and do it all for the glory of God. Amen. Can I get an amen? I can hear you. Okay. Right. So thank you for joining us today. My name is Sharon. I'm one of your hosts, and the co-host is...
Good afternoon. My name is Shirley.
Thank you, Shirley. So we are going to go into looking at how well you managed your challenge from last week. And our presenter today is none other than David Hanson. Can we have a Hanson Bartholomew? Can we have a quick hello from David? Okay, we had a wave.
Greetings, saints. Glad
Thank you, David. Thank you. Right, so we're going to move on quickly with the slides. So hopefully you can see it advance. There you go. So last week we looked at the musculoskeletal system, part 1. And this was more of an in-depth kind of at a cellular level. This week we're going on to part 2, and we'll see. So last week we laid the foundation, if I'm right to put it that way. And then this week we're building on the foundation. So I'm looking forward to this. With the sports science background, I'm always excited about anything to do with the anatomy and the physiology of the human body. So I'm looking forward to this presentation, part 2. So if you didn't know what you're on here for, this is it. Okay, I'm sure you do know. So our disclaimer, we have a disclaimer every week and it doesn't change. So I'm handing over to Shirley. If you could do the disclaimer. Happy Sabbath, Priscilla. Thank you. You are muted though, Shirley.
Okay, so the disclaimer is only a physician can diagnose, treat, and prescribe.
I still can't hear you. Can everybody else hear Shirley?
David can hear me. Sharon?
Okay, I can hear you now. Thanks.
Okay, so only a physician can diagnose, treat, and prescribe for illness or disease. Any information disclosed or discussed at the TTI Zoom talk show is for educational and informational purposes only. Please continue to seek professional medical advice from your general practitioner regarding any illness or disease you may be suffering from. I don't know, I'm not sure Sharon can still hear me. Oh, yes, she can.
Yeah, sorry, my signal is not very good where I am. Do forgive me. Let me know if I'm cutting out though.
Okay, that's fine. Right, so within TTI we have our Telegram groups, and we have a male, female, and a spiritual Telegram group. So we split them. So with the women and the men, we talk about health, the challenges and that the presenters set for us, any information people may have, or health issues. This is where we'll speak on the 2 different platforms. And then the spiritual health, this is for words of encouragement, where there's prayers lifted up for any individuals or for themselves if anything is happening within their life. And that's for the spiritual group. That's our spiritual group. So these are the URL links if you like to take note of them, and then please ensure that you have Telegram downloaded onto your device, and then you'll be able to be joined onto any one of them that you've joined onto. Okay, so this one is the spiritual health, the Bible studies on a Tuesday at 7. This is with Alvin and Lewis. So I think this was continuing with the Daniel series. They did do Before the Battle for the Mind. And I had 5 series on that, so that's a new one with Daniel. So please join on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Okay, so this one is the essential oils session that we have every Thursday at 7 p.m. No, every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks now on a Thursday. So this week we'll be looking at the 10 core oils, the 25th of November at 7 p.m. Please take note that the Bible study and the essential oil class, they all have different Zoom IDs. So this one we'll be looking at the 10 core oils, and we're going to discuss what 10 they are and why we call them the 10 core oils, and look more into the benefits of essential oils. So that's this Thursday at 7 p.m. Okay, this one's with Louise Reed, the 10-day detox program. And this is going the 9th to the 18th of January next year. And Louise's number is down below. Please take notes. If you have any information or any inquiries that you would like to speak to her about, please contact her on her mobile number. But detox is great for the body, help with your colon, losing weight, detoxing your liver, aids in the digestive system, and many, many more. So please contact Louise for more information regarding the detox program in January. Okay, and this one is TTI joining with four other ministries next week, Saturday on the 27th of November. It's called Christ Method Alone will give you true success. So in the morning, teaching and preaching will be happening, and in the afternoon will be the restoration, healing in the afternoon, where we will be going through doing juicing demos. This is afternoon, juicing demos, talks. There'll be a lot of things happening. So hopefully, if everything goes well, we'll be able to go live over there in Manchester South Church for our family health show.
Yeah, I don't know. Can you hear me all right, or am I cracking up?
No, you're okay. Yep, David's got.
I'm okay. Okay. Well, I can't hear me on my device, so that's why I've been really quiet.
Oh, no, we can hear you.
Okay. Right. So that's great. Well, this next slide, it's a way that you can learn about repurposing your skills. So this is coming up on the 5th of December. Yes, we're speaking about December already. That's very soon. So that's a free conference. We know that some people, their jobs are under threat because they're working for various departments, various organizations who are stating mandatory vaccinations. And so this is a conference to let you know what alternatives that you are available for you in terms of repurposing your skills. Some of the presenters, the facilitator, the host, you may be familiar with their faces, particularly the one on the bottom left. You'll be hearing from him soon. And this is something that you may wish to take note of. So, and here we have our True Temperance International, sponsored by True Temperance International, some organic or veganically grown olive oil grown from the Unachenta farm in Spain. This is where Pastor Sam Davis runs his farm. So they will be available. They will be available next week, but we'll let you know a bit more about them if you are interested. So let's move on. And finally, our slide is here to thank everyone for your support. Thank you for coming on True Temperance International. Thank you for sharing the links. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your encouragement. Thank you for, well, I can just keep saying thank you really, because we, that is the way that God teaches us to show appreciation for each other. And we really do appreciate your support. If you wish to support us financially, you know, we're going to, obviously it's going to incur costs when we put on the live shows, the live broadcasts, and we support other projects such as there's members from True Temperance International that support book distributions in various communities. We also assist with homeless feeding, and obviously having our Zoom platform every week. So we really do support your financial support we appreciate your financial support when that comes along with your blessings. As God gives you, we appreciate that you are able. But in spite of all of that, we just love having you on us. We love having you as part of our family, and we look forward to seeing you every week. And when we have the breaks, we miss you. Am I right, Shirley? Well, I do anyway.
Yes. Sorry, Sharon, yes.
I think that was a definite yes, but Shirley's probably preoccupied right now.
Yes.
Okay. And those of you who are regular, when we don't see you, we miss you. We look out for your faces. So yes, thank you for joining us every week. And I will stop the share. So last week we had a challenge. David gave us a challenge, and this was all to do with our balance. He could have come up with different challenges, but this is the one that he set for us last week. So if you remember, he asked us to stand with our feet together and just stand still with your feet together. And then to up the challenge, do it with your eyes closed. And this was to stand there for 2 minutes, sorry, not 4 minutes, 2 minutes. Now, if you found that too easy, the next challenge was to put one foot in front of the other. So your feet are like that, the foot there and one in front, and do that with your eyes open for 2 minutes. And if you found that too easy, the next level was to close your eyes. And then if you found that too easy, the next level was on one foot, looking straight ahead or wherever you wish to put your eyes, for 2 minutes. And again, if that was too easy, 1 foot with your eyes closed for 2 minutes. And the disclaimer, the David disclaimer, was to make sure you had something close by so that you could hold on to, grab hold of, because he didn't want anyone falling, knocking their head or whatever, and suing him for for giving us a challenge that was dangerous. So this is an opportunity now where you can unmute and let us know how you got on. I know I've tried it, so in fact I'll start the ball rolling. Okay, so I did let you know that I struggled a little bit with one foot in front of the other and eyes closed, but I had a go anyway. I actually tried this when I was at the bus stop waiting for a bus. I don't know what people thought of me, stood there with one foot in front of the other, my eyes closed, and I looked like I was I needed assistance. So I quickly opened my eyes and thought, this is one for the house, not to be done in public. Okay, lots of times they say, don't do this at home. This was one instance when I needed to be at home. Okay, so yes, and I've been, not every day, but I have been trying this one, and it is not easy, I must admit. It is a challenge for me. So it's one that you can practice and get better at. That's what I'm glad about. So I'm looking to get better at this. So this is your opportunity to unmute and let us know how you got on with the challenge. Now, Shirley, are our viewers able to unmute?
Yes, they can. Yes.
Okay, so let's hear what you have to say.
This is Audrey.
Hi, Audrey.
Hi, Sharon, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. All the better for hearing you.
I tell you, God is good. Anyway, I tried. I did. There was only one that I could not do. I had to hold on to something, but I know it's because of my age. You know, as you get older, your balance sort of tends to go down. But the rest of them, I could do them no problem. And I've done them the whole week. no problem whatsoever. The only problem was standing on one leg. I cannot do that. I mean, putting on a trouser, I've got to sit down, put on a trouser, because when I do it standing, as soon as I lift and I'm on one leg, I'm wobbling all over the place. So I've got no choice but to, yeah, I had to hold on something to do that. But I did it. Thank God I did it, and I thank God for the opportunity of doing it and the ability. Thank you, my dear.
Blessings, blessings. Thank you for sharing with us, Audrey. It's always good to hear from you.
Could I just say, it's fantastic, Sister Audrey, that you practice that. And I always say, don't give up. Don't give up. Keep on trying the one where you're, even if you hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on and do that exercise. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you're really, what you're doing is you're heightening your vestibular mechanism in your brain, which basically picks up your balance. And it will come. I always say to my patients, where there's life, there is hope. And we have the hope of all hopes, man. So yeah. So keep on trying. Keep on trying. Don't stop. Don't stop.
Thank you so much. I will keep trying, David. I definitely will keep trying. Yeah, I won't give up on it. Even though I have to hold on to something, I'll do it. Thank you.
Amen. Excellent.
And when you've mastered the one with one leg, with your eyes closed and you're not falling over, I'm sure that you can take it to a next level, because I was thinking about that today, possibly like bending down to pick something off the floor and standing back up again without falling over. David's nodding his head. Okay, you can always bring it on a little bit more challenging. Thank you for that, Audrey. Hopefully you've encouraged somebody else who may feel a little bit shy to share how they got on. Is there anybody else who would like to let us know how they managed? Or is anybody trying it now?
Yeah, I tried a few of like the ones with your eyes closed, kind of thinking that, oh yeah, I'll be able to do it easily. And then when I tried to put my foot in front of the other one, I started to feel like it wasn't as easy as it sounded. So I could feel like a few different muscle groups, even in like towards like the top of my ankle, just stretching out that I haven't used properly for a while. So that was actually quite refreshing. So I'm going to kind of do that every day, because I kind of feel like that would even just help with like things like flat feet as well, like that, and posture.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you for sharing, Anton. Thank you for coming on and unmuting and being brave to let us know how you got on. Wonderful. Okay, we'll give one more person the opportunity to share, and then we'll move on to David's presentation. Anita.
Okay. Yes. I tried to. I thought that I had a good balance, but when I when I tried to put one foot in front of the other, I was swaying both ways. And I wasn't drunk. When those policemen told me, when they surmised that this person is drunk, they asked him to maybe to put one foot in front of the other, and he couldn't do it because he was drunk. But I was not drunk. I could not do it. I could not do it. It takes me quite a while to get it done. And when I got it done, I was sweating. However, it was a good one. Thank you. Thank you.
Excuse the phone ringing in the background. Fantastic, Sister Anita. Keep on trying. Keep on going. Keep on going. Soon you'll be able to walk the plank.
Yes.
Soon you'll be able to walk the plank. Keep on going.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm not sure if somebody's speaking because my phone's going funny. Right, I think you finished saying what you were saying, David. So yes, thank you very much, Anita. I'm going to have to watch this back on YouTube to hear what you said, because I got bits of it, And I think I know what you were saying, but I'm going to have to watch this back. So this is a reminder, those of you who are on YouTube, I forgot to say hi to you all, so welcome. And we look forward to sticking with you for the rest of this show, and hopefully my connection will improve. But I'm hoping that you can hear me as well. So we're going to move over to David's presentation, and I know it's going to be a really interesting one. Get your notebook and pen, and remember, you can always go back if there's anything particular that you wanted him to recap on. You can go back on YouTube and watch this. This is being recorded, so and also you can share the link with your friends as well if you think there's somebody that you know would really appreciate today's presentation. Please share with them the link. So if you go on to True Temperance International on YouTube and then type in the words, what's today's presentation entitled again? Musculoskeletal Part 2. So if you type that in, then it should bring you to today's presentation or last week's. And then you can do the subscribe, share, and like. I think I've said that in the wrong order, but you know what it is, and there's nothing there for me to point to, but you know what I'm trying to say. Yeah, so subscribe, share, and like on True Temperance International's YouTube channel, and let your friends know what they're missing, and hopefully we'll see you again. So David, before you start, let me have a question for you. Okay, so what can I think of off the top of my head? Okay. Right. What is your favorite animal? Here we go. What is your favorite animal?
My favorite animal.
Yeah.
Favorite animal. I have to say that I like the lion. Yeah. Did you get that? You sound like lion.
Okay, why?
I think because, well, it's like for me, it's like the big cats, like the lion, the tiger, because they're quite pretty. They're quite pretty. I find that it's like when you look at them, they're like, even though they're dangerous, right? But the lion has like a prowess about him, and my mind always kind of reflects on, the Bible says that Satan walks about like a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour, but Jesus is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. So he's not impersonating, he is the lion. And so that kind of like, I like that. I like the idea of him being a lion, and the lion's like, it takes care of its own, so yeah.
Okay, brilliant, great answer. Okay, so we've learned a little bit more about you, David. What was the question that Edgar asked you last week? Oh, what do you do in your spare time? Right, so we know about that, and now we know that you love lions, or you like lions. So without any further ado, we will hand over to you to present part 2 of the musculoskeletal system. David Hanson Bartholomew.
Right, wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm trying to remember the share thing. Do I share first and then I go into the Uji what's it to change it, or I'm trying to remember? What do I need to? I can't remember how to actually do.
Yeah,
you share first.
Okay.
Share first, and then do the audience disable participation.
Yeah, and then I go up to this top bit over here. Oh, what's that? I'm sharing the wrong page, man. Hang on a second. That's not what I pressed. I pressed this one. That's it. All right. Okay. Disable annotation for others. That's the one, isn't it? Okay. Cool. All right. So we're ready to spearhead. Go ahead. Yes. All right. Okay. So we looked at last week the engine of the cell, which we were focusing on the cell membrane, and what the cell membrane, how important the cell membrane is to the cell. In fact, it facilitates the functioning and the activity and the existence of the cell, and also the structures that are inside the cell are basically governed by the cell membrane, because they themselves are actually surrounded in the same substance that makes up the cell membrane. Now, what is very important for, I think, for all of us to understand is that every single cell in your body has this type of cell membrane. You may find it different in the muscle. It's called like the sarcolemma, or this, and it has a, instead of having cytoplasm in it in the muscles, it has the sarcolemic plasma, or cytoplasm, as it were. So it's the same structure, but it just has a kind of like a different name. But you know, it's pretty much the same. So it's important that every single cell in our bodies has this support or substance around it that gives the cell its integrity. Okay, so I'm sure that everybody's heard of fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia is, it's not a specific disease as such that can be diagnosed straight off the bat. Like, for example, if you have like a problem with a tendon, and the tendon or the areas become kind of like damaged, as it were, or you have an infection of some sort, you know, they'll be able to sort of like, you know, check out your inflammatory markers and see whether there's an infection or not. You can also, if somebody, you know, has a chest infection or has some kind of flu of some sort, then it will manifest itself in a disposition of your temperature being increased, and you know, your body becoming hot, in an attempt to kill off the bacteria or whatever it is that's infected you. But it's not so with fibromyalgia necessarily. And in times past, fibromyalgia used to be called fibrositis. Okay, it's only of recent that it's kind of like, you know, recent years that it got the terminology fibromyalgia. Now, just to get, you know, sorry, that says fibromyalgia. It's supposed to be fibromyalgia. Sorry, incorrect spelling. So it's supposed to be M-Y-L-G-A. Myalgia. M-Y-A-L-G-A. Okay. So it effectively it affects the fibers in your body, all the tissue in your body. Every tissue in your body has some degree of fiber in it. And myalgia means muscles. So the muscles become affected. Okay. All right, which can be quite debilitating. And what I want you to bear in mind, again, it's like the cells, remember, are of your muscles and your ligaments and your fibers. They're all bound up in this cell membrane to make the consistency of whatever it is that they are forming. Okay, so just to give you an idea of fibromyalgia and the way in which, you know, the things that they have to look at to actually diagnose it, because it's a differential diagnosis. You know, if you've got this particular problem, then you may, if you've got tenderness around your body, then they'll put it down to, yeah, fibromyalgia. So, you know, it's based on your medical health. It's based on your diagnosis is based on tissues, illness, body troubles, psychological factors, sleep disturbances. You know, if you've got rheumatological factors or issues like, you know, inflammatory issues, then you would have a tendency possibly to have fibromyalgia as well. So you see, it doesn't kind of like come by itself. And what you've got to understand is that, you know, all of these particular issues that kind of give you a differential diagnosis, which means they have to, it's a different ailment, but that ailment kind of goes hand in hand with fibromyalgia, if that makes sense. Or it has a potential to bring about the fibromyalgic issue. Yeah. So those are the sorts of things that you need to kind of like bear in mind with fibromyalgia. Sometimes it's almost like it's like some nebulous thing. It's like oh, I've got fibromyalgia. And people think, what is that? You know, it's difficult to kind of pinpoint it because it just doesn't have like a specific diagnosis from a medical perspective. Okay, right. So looking at fibromyalgia, yeah. So fibromyalgia is a syndrome characterized by chronic widespread pain at multiple tender spots or points, joint stiffness, and systemic symptoms. Okay, so systemic meaning like circulation. E.g., there's mood disorders, fatigue, cognitive dysfunction, and insomnia. Okay, without a well-defined underlying organic disease, as I mentioned before. So nevertheless, it can be associated with specific diseases such as rheumatic pathologies, psychiatric or neurological disorders, infections, and diabetes. Okay, so in all of these things that have been mentioned, they do have a tendency to have an inflammatory kind of initiating factor. Yeah. One of the when you look at, so like, for example, psychiatric issues, you know, it's been shown that individuals that have a psychiatric disposition or psychiatric problems, whether it be depression, be manic depressive, bipolar affective disorder, these things tend to be worsened by inflammation. The more acidotic or acidic you are, the more you have a tendency to be subjected to inflammatory processes. And so if you have sort of like a bit of a mental disposition, it could be worsened by inflammation. Okay. And so all of these, the underpinning factor that kind of promotes the majority of these is, you know, the inflammatory process that occurs. Okay. So moving on. And the other thing is with diabetes is like, it's so distressing to the blood chemistry. It actually messes up the vitality of the cell tissue. And hence, as you know, individuals who have diabetes, they tend to have healing problems. So, you know, lots of my patients, you know, if they've got like diabetes and they're elderly, it's like they're not allowed to cut their toenails or anything like that, or their fingernails. The chiropodist has to do it for them, simply because if they nick themselves, what could very easily happen is that toenail or that fingernail could become infected, and you know, they could go into sepsis because, you know, the healing process doesn't happen readily. I never forget when I was working with a consultant, an orthopedic consultant specializing in shoulders, and on regular occasions I'd be in the operating theatre with them to see exactly what they were doing to the shoulder. So obviously, after they've done whatever it was in terms of remedying the shoulder problem, I would then basically work on that individual to improve their sort of like their function and rehabilitate them so that we get normality of movement and all the rest. Anyway, I'll never forget going into the surgery and seeing a normal shoulder, which had some issues which needed to be corrected, which were corrected, and a shoulder that was diabetic. Now, looking at the shoulder that was normal, it was amazing to me, because it really sounds strange. It may sound strange and weird, but looking into the shoulder, that, you know, obviously you've got to put lights on inside the shoulder so they can see what's going on. And this person's shoulder inside, it looked like there was like precious jewels inside. It was like glittery and shiny and sparkling. It was like, it literally looked like you'd gone into like a treasure chest of something of some sort. It really looked really nice. And in comparison to the shoulder that had diabetes, the diabetic patient, you can see the tissues were scraggy. The tissues were, they were like really sort of like tissue paper almost. It didn't have like integrity. And that's what, the diabetes can do. And so, diabetes, it will have a tendency to kind of encourage, a delay in the healing process, which can prolong the inflammatory process, which, it just messes up the chemistry in the body. But anyway, I just thought that just to check that in. Now, these are differential diagnoses that, help to facilitate or give you an understanding that somebody may have fibromyalgia. Okay. All right. So adrenal function, anemia, bone marrow disease, chronic fatigue syndrome. Okay. Functional disorders like intestinal dysbiosis, poor function of the intestines, subtle endocrine imbalances, and post-viral immune suppression. All of these things can give rise to fibromyalgia, hypothyroidism, Lyme's disease, psychiatric conditions, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety and depression, multiple sclerosis. You also have the phenomenological referred myofascial pain. Okay, so it's myofascial pain is like tender spots within the musculature, okay, which can actually refer pain patterns, as well as an individual having the fibromyalgia. Those two coupled together can be quite debilitating. Rheumatoid autoimmune disorders, it's like you've got rheumatoid arthritis, again, ankylosing spondylitis and scleroderma, sleep disorders, spinal facet pain or sacroiliac joint pain, spinal disc herniation, systemic inflammation or infection, vitamin and or mineral deficiency. Now, the amazing thing for me with regards to all of these things that have been listed, all of these aspects that have been listed, you will find that those 8 doctors, I think some of you may know what I'm talking about, those 8 doctors, if we are able to really adhere to those principles that have been given, will help to work on these particular areas and basically bring them into a realm of normality or ease as opposed to dis-ease. Okay, so these are some of the tender spots that you'll find in an individual who has fibromyalgia. Okay, so in around the neck area, just what they call the supraclavicular region. So these are clavicles here. Then you have the subclavicular regions, or the rib areas. So sometimes this presents itself, and sometimes you get diagnosis of what they call costochondritis, which is an inflammatory process of the cartilage of the rib cage, because a portion of your rib cage is made up of cartilage and is adjoined to the remaining bone component of your rib cage. That's that. This area here, the tenderness of the outer aspects of the elbows also could be mistaken for tennis elbow, or what they call lateral epicondylitis. All right, and then you got tenderness on the inner aspects of the knees here. You've got the iliac region here, or the pelvic region here. You've got the hips around these areas here. Okay. And on the back side, you've got the shoulder region, which is known as the upper fibers of trapezius, the base of the skull, in and around the region of muscles called semispinalis capitis. And then you've got around this area here, just in around the shoulder blade, its region, you'd have a muscle here called the infraspinatus. And at the best of times, right, that muscle, when you press on that, it can be absolutely, it can be very distressing. But, if you press on it long enough, the actual discomfort and pain will eventually subside. Sometimes, a lot of us, we don't really realize a lot of the thing with fibromyalgia, it tends to be more stress that induces and increases the problem of fibromyalgia. It causes a disruption of the activity of the central nervous system, which, you begin to learn and understand. And sometimes we have tenderness in our body, and then we don't actually realize that the tenderness is there because we're just so used to just doing, right? Okay. But when somebody puts their hand on a certain point or on a certain area, it's like, you're like, whoa, what are you doing? Can you get off me, please? It's you find that with a lot of people that, they've got a lot of stress pent up, and they don't actually realize that the areas are tender. But yeah, anyway, moving on. I'm just going to show you some information, a bit more information about the tender spots. So here you have problems with your vision, which fibromyalgia can cause, jaw pain, paired tender points, as you can see here, as we discussed earlier on the other slide. Nausea can be experienced. Okay, and again, the nausea aspect of things, it can be as a result of, like, you know, the stress that you're going through, which can mess around with what they call the abdominal microbiome, which is the bacteria, the good bacteria that's in your gut, which can have a knock-on effect to the rest of your system, you know, encouraging irritable bowel type syndrome, and also encouraging depression, because, you know, the more you're stressed out, you can, you know, develop depression, and therefore, you know, messes around with the balance of your bacteria in your gut. You know, the more depressed you are, the more imbalanced those bacteria become, the less serotonin you're able to produce, because in your gut, you've got 80% of the serotonin that your body uses, which is, we call it the happy hormone, which helps to facilitate, you know, your happy experiences, you know, euphoric experiences. But also, these bacteria are responsible for 50% of the bacteria, so 50% of the dopamine that your body produces. I was quite shocked at both of those sort of like percentages when I was doing some research into what they call the second brain, which is the intestinal system. So yeah, sleep disturbances. And this can be really extremely debilitating for individuals. When you have sleep disturbances, when you can't get any sleep, it can be absolutely soul destroying. But again, it does mess around with, you know, your body's function. Now, can anybody tell me what is the fourth level of your sleep? What area, what would you've got, so like 4 or 5 levels of sleep, right? And your fourth level of sleep, what would you say? Do you know what it's called? Or do you have any ideas what happens in that realm? The fourth stage of sleep. Anybody?
Is it delta?
Yes, delta waves. Yes, absolutely. And what's the importance of the fourth stage of sleep? Does anybody know? I'm going to take that as a no. All right. Okay. So the fourth stage of sleep is where your body's actually rejuvenating itself. Okay. Healing. Now, all you find throughout the day, your musculature, and it's been worked or exercise and so on and so forth, it does go through a process of like micro trauma. Okay. Now these micro traumas need to be healed. So these tend to be restored during the fourth level or fourth stage of your sleep. Again, that's right, where delta waves are established, you know. And also it's a period of time, particularly, you know, youngsters, you know, who are growing, when you have the growth or growth hormone being released to facilitate growth. Okay, so it's very important. Also, it's important for you to compartmentalize. I call it defragmentation. You know, your brain, you know, a computer has a defragmenting sort of like program or facility that helps to get all the activities that have happened, things that have been stored and into a reasonably audible, not audible, so like a reasonable ordered sort of like situation or position, so it's more easily accessed. And that's kind of what your brain does during that time. So it helps kind of balance your mind as well. You know, people who lack sleep, they can, to the extent, you know, it actually literally feels like you're drunk. You have, you know, you've been on the bottle and your function is really kind of substantially kind of compromised. Memory problems come about as a result of that. You can imagine that, you know, if you're not getting enough sleep, then, you know, your memory is not going to be as best as it should. Headaches, dizziness, pain in muscles, skin problems, joints and pain, in the morning, and morning stiffness. All of these things tend to present themselves. Restless leg syndrome. When you're in bed and you can't keep still. Trying to get to sleep and your legs are just waking you up. That sort of thing that people with fibromyalgia can actually experience. Okay, and just to give you an idea of different types of cells in our bodies, and remember, all of these cells have cell membranes. They all have cell membranes. So here we have the brain cells, we have liver cells, we have muscular cells over here. We have over here sort of like cells in around the tissues, almany. Looking at your circulation and so on and so forth. It's the blood cells, and then you got around here your intestinal cells. Okay, so they all, remember that all of these, they have cell membranes around them. Okay, all right, and this is just to give you a bit more of a detailed sort of picture, schematic diagrams of different cells. Blood cells up there, surface skin cells, otherwise known as squamous cells, bone cells, otherwise known as osteoclast, osteoblast, or osteocytes. Yeah, they all have these cell membranes to cause them to function proficiently. Yeah, cardiac muscle cell. Okay, you have skeletal muscle cells. You have columnar epithelial cells and goblet cells. These tend to be found in your stomach. Okay, in particular goblet cells. These here are you can find these type of cells also in the liver, in the lungs with cilia on them, which help to migrate the mucus up to the back of the throat. And here you have a neuronus, a nerve cell. Yeah, and then here we have smooth muscle. So these muscles here, so cardiac muscle is involuntary. These muscles here, skeletal, are voluntary, and your smooth muscle again is involuntary. Okay, so yeah, this is what your muscle tissues look like. So going on, okay, so how we have etiology and pathogenesis. Pathology basically means something, the study of disease and how the process of disease. So pathogenesis means the beginning of disease. Etiology simply means how it comes about. So the etiology and pathogenesis of fibromyalgia is not fully understood. So again, it's because there's so many different factors that come together, and which is really spearheaded by stress. Okay, spearheaded by stress. It's difficult for them to actually diagnose fibromyalgia. Several factors, such as dysfunction of central and autonomic nervous systems, neurotransmitters, which is like messages that are sent by your body, by your nerves, hormones, immune system, external stressors, psychiatric aspects, and others seem to be involved. So all of these factors, and that's why they have a differential diagnosis. Yeah. Okay. The central nervous system, trying to get too bogged down by the stuff that I put here, says central sensitization is considered the main mechanism involved, and it is defined by the increased response to stimulation mediated by the CNS, which is the central nervous system. So simply what it's saying is like, when you have pain stimulated, what tends to happen if you have pain stimulating an area of your body, your natural response is to come away from it. But if it happens again, it tends to increase the intensity of the pain. But what you find with like fibromyalgia is that, the pain is enhanced substantially. Okay, there's another thing that says the phenomena are an expression of neuroplasticity and are mainly mediated by N-methyl D-aspartate, okay, which are receptors located in the postsynaptic membrane in the dorsal horn of the spinal cord. That sounds like a whole lot of jargon, right? Which it is, excuse me, but this is a chemical mediated substance that finds itself at the back of your spinal cord. So the front of your spinal cord, as it goes down to your limbs and so on, there are nerves that are thrown off from the front, and there are nerves that are thrown off from the back. And you've got the tube of your spinal cord in place. Okay, and you've got these tubes that come away from the front and from the back. Now, from the back, they're called the dorsal, yeah, which means posterior. From the front, it's called the anterior. And the ones on the front tend to be the nerves that send messages to move your limbs around, okay? All right, and the ones at the back, they tend to receive information, okay? And that's what's taken up to your brain, okay? So what they call it, they say it's located in the postsynaptic membrane in the dorsal horn of the spinal cord. So those nerves that go into the posterior, the backside of your spinal cord, they connect with the nerve in the spinal cord, and they call that postsynaptic membrane. And that's where that substance is basically released, if that makes sense, yeah? Another mechanism supposedly involves the well-known descending inhibitory pain pathways, which modulate spinal cord responses to painful stimuli. They seem to be impaired in patients with fibromyalgia, helping to exacerbate the central sensitization. Simply put, what happens is when the pain message comes in, the pain message is increased substantially, when really it shouldn't be as bad as the stimulus is being produced, or the stimulus is causing the pain factor to be experienced. It just heightens the pain. And that's what a lot of people with the fibromyalgia experience, okay? The autonomic nervous system, okay, so various studies show so the most recent of which is based on the methodologies such as power spectrum analysis of the heart's rate of variability. So they put you on a tilt table and move you back and forth, okay? It's confirmed that fibromyalgia, the sympathetic nervous system is persistently hyperactive, but hyporeactive to stress. Okay. Somebody needs to mute themselves, I think. But anyway, so effectively,
Am I on mute?
the sympathetic, yeah, you are now, hopefully. The sympathetic nervous system, okay, is a nervous system of your body. It's automatic. You're not in control of it, but it sends out information, and it sends out information for activity. Yeah, okay. But it says that it's hyporeactive to stress. So it doesn't react very well or effectively to like stressful situations. Yeah, okay. So it kind of like is part and parcel of, you could say, the fight and flight sort of right response in the body. The sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system work upon that basis. Parasympathetic means to slow you down, take it easy. Sympathetic is like, get you going. Yeah. This could explain some clinical symptoms such as fatigue, morning stiffness, sleep disorders, anxiety, pseudo-Raynaud's phenomenon, which is like a circulatory problem with the tips of your fingers and tips of your toes, sicker symptoms, and bowel irritability. High serum levels of neuropeptide Y, which normally secreted along with norepinephrine, are supposed to be signs of this dysautonomic state. Okay, all right. So those are all kind of chemically based substances that are produced by the sympathetic nervous system. Okay, all right. So moving on, sleep disturbances. Now we mentioned this earlier on. So when you have issues with sleep, you know, there's the muscular tissue. It requires simply that time during your sleep to be able to restore itself. And if it's not given the opportunity to restore itself, then you'll find that, you know, the tissue will tend to be more tender and uncomfortable. Okay. So it's during that fourth stage of sleep, that fourth phase of sleep, that is most disturbed with individuals with fibromyalgia, that, you know, they get real issues with regards to their muscles being able to be restored, and hence increasing tenderness and poor function of the musculature. But also it's important because, you know, you've got what they call the insulin-like growth factor, which looks like insulin, but it's just in individuals, it's basically a form of a chemical that helps with the metabolic rate in your body, or how your body metabolizes things. The growth hormone, that's how it tends to function in adults, as it were, whereas in children it brings about the way in which they should function, or children, that enables them to grow, rather. So it says, given that these hormones are involved in muscle microtrauma repair, the healing of the tissue could be affected by sleep disturbances. So now fibromyalgia system, the immune system, fibromyalgia is common in patients affected by autoimmune disease. Now, to understand autoimmune disease, you're looking at, you know, I remember when I was when I first started sort of like, you know, working, and you know, I worked in the rheumatological department, so patients that have things like ankylosing spondylitis, which is autoimmune disease that affects certain areas of the body, rheumatoid arthritis, juvenile chronic arthritis, all of these sort of like, you know, inflammatory processes, and the majority of the individuals, I found that they had some form of post-traumatic, like, you know, stress disorder. So something had happened that really would distress them. Like, for example, it may have been like a divorce, okay, or, you know, they lost a loved one, yeah, and after that they started having this inflammatory response. Now, I don't know, some of you may have heard of psychoneuroimmunology. Yeah, psycho simply means mind, neuro means nerves, and immunology means the study of your immune system. So psychoneuroimmunology is where your mind affects your immune system. And I'll never forget my brother, you know, God rest his soul. You know, when my mum was sick with cancer, and she had gone for operations, and, you know, it seemed like it was a success, but unfortunately the cancer came back. And I remember my brother was going to the private hospital to go and visit mum. And as we were in the lift, you know, he's saying, Dave, you know, what's going on? I mean, I just become a physician. He said, what's going on with my hands? Look, can you see these, you know, these blotches on my skin, and fingers are tingling, and so on and so forth. And I wasn't quite sure of what it was, but as I continued with, you know, looking into things, and I kind of recognized it was lupus presenting itself, you know, and I was hoping and praying that it wasn't lupus, but, you know, unfortunately it was. And lupus is where your white blood cells just basically begin to attack your own tissues. With all autoimmune diseases, that's what happens. So it enhances the inflammatory processes. And what happens is it attacks your joints, the tissues of your joints, and it also attacks your blood capillaries. So it attacks your blood capillaries in a way that it causes them to have holes in them, you know, and it causes you to break out into spontaneous bruising. Now, these white blood cells can attack anywhere in your body. They can attack your lungs. And unfortunately, my brother used to cough up blood. Yeah, it can attack your kidneys. That would cause hematuria, which is like pee in blood. And he had that experience as well. And, you know, it was really quite, you know, quite saddening. You know, they were trying to work and bring about some kind of a cessation of this inflammatory arthropathy, you could say, or systemic inflammatory disease. But, you know, they're really struggling. And normally with, like, you know, Afro-Caribbean men or Black men, lupus is always a lot worse. And, you know, it was sad, you know, but, you know, my brother was only 32, man, and he lost the battle, man. He passed away. You know, so, you know, lupus, it can come about as a result of stress, and any immune disease tends to be connected to stress. But I found most pertinently that individuals that were in the clinic who had rheumatoid arthritis, the majority of them in their history, they had some kind of stressor that caused them to cause the disease to begin to kick off and present itself. And so hence you have the immunology aspect of these diseases. Okay. Psychiatric aspects, we kind of touched on this already, but you see psychiatric problems seem to contribute considerably to the development of fibromyalgia. And this is where you have a sensitization of the central nervous system, where pain is received when there's no particular reason for the pain to actually be received, to be established. And it messes with the autoimmune system, as it were, or the autonomic nervous system rather, and therefore predisposes you to symptoms that come about as a result of you just touching something or something touching you, whereas really that shouldn't. It's not normal for that to happen. That basically depicts the sensitivity of your nervous system, which really is quite substantially debilitating, because you're consistently feeling this pain. You're not getting sufficient sleep. You're waking up in the morning. Your joints are tight. Your joints are stiff, and that's causing you to not really wanting to function as you want. That then has a knock-on effect of bringing your mind down and distressing you. What I found with patients who have fibromyalgia, there's a type of massage that you can do to help to bring about desensitization of the symptoms that they're experiencing. But also, I think it's very important as well, because as the Bible says, the life is in the blood. Okay, the life is in the blood, and if your blood chemistry, if you can get your blood chemistry working effectively, as well as getting the sufficient sleep that you need, and by what I mean by that is things like tryptophan, which is a building block of melatonin, which is that chemical that helps you to sleep sufficiently well, and therefore when you wake up during in the morning and the light strikes your eye, that melatonin gets converted into serotonin, which is a happy hormone. Also, the most important thing I think out of all of the 8 doctors, although they all are important, they're almost like that vitamin, vitamin rather, which they have the B complex. They work together, they work hand in hand. And likewise with the 10 commandments, it's like a chain. You break one link and then everything collapses. But the 8 doctors, nutrition, exercise, water, sunshine, temperance, air, rest, trust in divine power. Trust in divine power, I believe, to be the backbone of the whole thing, which basically helps to facilitate everything else. It's only God really that can give you that peace of mind. He's the, he says, cast your cares upon him, for he cares for you. If you keep your mind stayed on him, he will keep you. He will keep you in perfect peace. Why? Because he is the Prince of Peace. And so all of these 8 doctors, they are ways and means to facilitate the reduction of, the disturbance of the mind and facilitate the sleeping. But as I'm going back to the massage, just a gentle massage, just rubbing the hand across the structure area where there's discomfort, and it literally has a very soothing effect. Not only are you affecting the tenderness of the tissues, but you're actually affecting the lymphatic system as well, which will help to move any excess fluid away from the area if it is building up, and help to normalize the condition of the tissues in the area. So yeah, as you can see, peripheral tissues such as skin, muscles, and microvessels are coming under closer investigation. Vascular dysregulation in muscles, inadequate response to oxidative stress, exacerbated by the nocturnal fall in saturation. So again, nocturnal fall comes around as a result of not getting sufficient sleep at night. Increases what they call the IL in the cutaneous tissues. It increases the P substance, which is like a pain-induced substance, and in muscles, and DNA fragmentation of muscle fibers are all suspected possibly to play a role in this condition. Yeah. So yeah. that's pretty much the presentation that I wanted to give you. But, you know, I wanted to show you something. Well, I can show you two later on if I've got time. But it's important. As I said, it's important for the blood circulation to be focused on, because as I said, you know, the circulation, you know, the life is in the blood. And I've found that, you know, in my experience, you know, seeing patients and so on and so forth, you know, if you don't get the circulation going, you know, where there's swelling and where there's tenderness, where there's pain, you know, the debilitation is going to continue to present itself. And that's really the key, one of the keys, should I say, to targeting these problems and these scenarios. I hope that that's been kind of helpful to y'all. Here, end of the presentation.
Okay, thank you so much, David. Let's switch my camera on. Slightly different view here. Hopefully you can hear me. Marvelous, marvelous. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Lots of insights into why we ache. And I did put in the comments in the, not in the YouTube, but in the Zoom, maybe I'm suffering from maybe I have fibromyalgia. That could be the underlying root to some of the discomforts I have. It's never been diagnosed as that, but there was a few things that you mentioned, like the morning stiffness, and there was something else that you the Raynaud's, or pseudo Raynaud's, I think you called it. But this isn't a personal consultation, okay? So I need to remind people that when we are asking questions, it's not a personal consultation, it's just a general question. So we are going to open up for questions, but thank you so much for that insightful presentation. And it seemed like one of the things you were saying was we need to ascertain the cause. That's something that we always say, and and in many instances, the cause could be an issue of circulation. I really get that. I really get that, because bad blood means well, bad health.
Yeah, bad blood means bad blood, man. Bad blood.
Yeah, ultimately. Yeah. So we need to get that right and do what can be done to improve our blood circulation and what's in the blood as well, the constituency of the blood. Is that right? Now, before the questions go off, you know, people start firing the questions, I have one question. Now, it's not necessarily dealing with the cause, but it's dealing with some of the symptoms, which isn't really the way we should work with things. But sometimes if the symptoms are there, you got to deal with them. You know, the pain is there. It's like, okay, yeah, it's circulation, but I'm hurting. Okay. So would you recommend TENS for pain? And I only say that because this morning I had a bit of pain, and my son has a thing for bodybuilding, you know, it's one of these plug-in TENS, and it actually worked. So would you recommend that? And if you want to explain to the viewers what TENS is.
Yeah. So the TENS machine is otherwise known as transcutaneous electrical nerve stimulation. Yeah. And it's like, for example, you know, if you're using a hammer and you are trying to hit the nail on the head, but you happen to miss and you hit your fingernail, it's very painful. Okay. Either you scream out loud, yeah, or there's silence, a deadly silence. But the other thing is that immediately you drop the hammer and you grab the thumb and you squeeze it because you're trying to just eradicate that pain. Now, what you're actually doing there, you don't realize you're doing, but you're actually, sorry, excuse the phone ringing in the background. You're actually stimulating other nerves which are fast tracking to your spinal cord, which kind of head off the pain nerve fibers sending pains to your brain. So it's literally, you're going to the spine, you're touching those nerve, that area of the finger, the nerves that pick up that sensation move quicker than the pain nerve fibers go to your brain, and they go to the spine and they head it off at the pass. So they stop it from sending so much pain to your brain. So you're actually stimulating other sensory nerves to reduce or to deaden the intensity of the pain that's been established by the hammer that's hit your nail. Now, why am I saying this? The TENS machine helps to facilitate that same process. It stimulates other nerves in and around where the pain is, and helps to reduce the pain by rushing to the spinal cord and heading them off at the pass to reduce the prevalence of the pain. It's not too dissimilar to like you going into a room and you have a bad smell in the room. You stay in there long enough, what happens is there's desensitization that occurs. The smell doesn't seem so intense anymore, or at least hopefully it shouldn't. Yeah, and thereby you're able to kind of like endure that sort of like experience or that time in that room. So that's what the TENS machine does. The other thing about the TENS machine is the TENS machine, you know, sometimes the area where you have the pain, it can be too much to put the TENS machine on that area. But what you can do is you can target the nerve that is designated to that area to reduce the pain. Or you could use what they call dermatomes, which are certain patches of skin on your body that have certain nerve levels from your spine dedicated to that patch of skin. And so if the pain that you're experiencing is in that vicinity of that patch of skin, you can just put the pads of the TENS on that particular area, patch of skin, not on the pain itself, but that region, and you'll still be able to reach the spinal region where that patch of skin has its nerve input from. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that does. Because that's pretty much, you know, I went for the area and stayed away from anything that's any organs that may be affected by the stimulation, and it worked. It worked, so that was great. Okay, so this is an opportunity now where you can put your questions in the chat. I don't know if there are any in there. I've seen two, I believe, on YouTube, and oh, wow. Yeah, there's a lengthy one there on here. So,
Sharon, excuse me.
yes, Anita.
Yes, you said you didn't hear me properly earlier when I was testifying about my balancing, you know. I was saying that when I tried to put one foot in front of the other, I was very unbalanced. And I can relate to when this the policeman told the drunkard to walk a straight line, and he couldn't do it. And me me as a person who wasn't drunk, I could not do it either. You know what I'm saying? Yes. So I I was very unbalanced in that way, but I've tried, and when I did do it, I was sweating, and I still got unbalanced, but I will keep on trying, as David said earlier that I should keep trying, so I will. Thank you.
Thank you for repeating that, Anita. And if there's any who missed, you can always go back on YouTube and this was some feedback Anita was giving us from last week's challenge, which was to do with our balance. It was, but go back. I'm not gonna repeat it now, because I'm sure there's going to be a new challenge for this week. But thank you for reminding us and for letting me hear what you had to say. And yes, the feeling of feeling it helps when you open your eyes. Yes. Give you that little tip. It does help when you open your eyes. But once you're going off balance, you're going off, even with your eyes open. You have to hold on. So yeah, be careful.
I will.
But keep practicing.
I will. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. There's Colin. I'm not sure if that was a question, because I'm struggling to read it without my glasses on. But would you like to unmute and state your question?
No, it wasn't a question. It was
Okay.
just an observation following on what you were saying, that you'd experienced fibromyalgia of sorts. And I was just sharing with others that I've experienced something along the same line. So it's just giving others an opportunity to, if anybody has experienced what I'd put down in the chat there, that I'd experienced costochondritis at one point or several times. It's not very nice. It's very painful, very difficult to breathe. But I'm only otherwise saying that with good management and care, even this, you can get through it and get by. But it was very difficult. It was painful. I was admitted to hospital. I was strung up with all the various cables and everything, just in case it was heart related. But as it happens, it wasn't. It was, you could say, just costochondritis. But as I was just saying, that if anybody else has experienced something like that, I think it's important for them to know how to manage it and deal with it. That was all.
And is that in relation to the intercostal muscles?
Yes.
David and
Oh,
Colin?
sorry.
No, Colin.
No, David's the expert.
You're muted, David.
That's all good, man. It's all good. It's all good, bro.
Yeah.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like costochondritis simply is this, as youngsters, majority of our bones, right? The bones are like, made of cartilage, right? So they go through secondary ossification, which is like calcium is laid down in them, which basically hardens them, right? So as youngsters, as we're growing up, become teenagers, young adults, and so on and so forth, you have your rib cage, basically, the majority of your rib cage becomes ossified, right? So it goes into secondary ossification. But as you come around to the front of the rib cage and into the sternum, you've got cartilaginous ribs. And as time transpires, as we get older, there's an increased secondary ossification that occurs, which can become uncomfortable and painful, right? So, and that's where the costochondritis comes from. Costal basically means the ribs, and chondritis means cartilage, or rather chondral. Yeah, chondral means cartilage. So chondritis means inflammation of the cartilage, and that's what Brother Colin there was experiencing. Get deep breathing. Absolutely, it's a method of any movement. Natural movement actually helps to facilitate a pain-killing effect. It's when we have pain and we begin to move abnormally to try and deal with the pain, which is what we do naturally, right? Yeah. And it's to try and avoid using the area, but try to remain functional. We go into a state of antalgia, which simply means, your movement has been modified by pain. When the movement becomes modified by pain, you then go into a state of overcompensatory activity. So you start using things abnormally, and guess what? Those areas start becoming painful. So it's like a knock-on effect. But if you can try to move as normally, as naturally as you can, I tend to there's certain mobilizations and soft tissue mobilizations that I do with patients that kind of help to desensitize the area where they've got the costochondritis. But also I get them to do deep breathing exercises. And the deep breathing exercises, again, helps to sort of reduce the prevalence of the pain. So yeah, natural movement, and God is good because natural movement is a painkiller. So yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, Charlene, are you going to take up a couple of the questions on YouTube for me, please?
Yes, Sharon, that's fine. So there is one that I don't think was mentioned regarding how do you deal with scoliosis, and will blood circulation help?
In regards to scoliosis has two sort of factors. One factor is biomechanical scoliosis. Okay, so an individual who has biomechanical scoliosis is normally a scoliotic curvature that's kind of established because of the way the muscles are actually pulling the spine. So if somebody has a biomechanical scoliosis, if they bend forwards, what will happen is their spine will straighten up as they bend forwards. And as they come back up again, because of the pulling of the musculature, they'll go back into that curvature. Okay. Then you have anatomical scoliosis, which means no matter how many times you bend down and come back up again, it's still going to remain bent or scoliosed. Yeah. Okay. For that, all you can do is try to manage it as best you can. You can, with specific exercises, try to rejig the biomechanical scoliotic curvature. And then you do have some degrees of scoliosis or scoliotic curvature that are so debilitating that it compromises the individual's breathing and their function, and can have adverse effects on their spinal cord. That individual needs to have surgery to rectify that, and they normally to like insert a rod and nuts and bolts to straighten up the person's spine to facilitate that. Hope that answers the question.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much. We have 3 questions on YouTube. So the first one is, a friend has cramps on both feet, needs help. What could be the cause? What is it that she can use or to stop? And then there's a blessed day. Do you manage to get that, David?
Yeah, it's a bit of an open question. It's like, because cramps could be quite a few reasons as to why the individual might be experiencing cramps. Could be circulatory problems, could be nerve problems. You know, it could be like issues with certain vitamins, you know, not, well, say vitamins, but vital minerals, I call them, like calcium, magnesium. Some of you suffering with lots of cramps, you know, magnesium and calcium help to facilitate the reduction of those cramps. But it is difficult to, you know, it could be a postural thing that's occurring. Cramps can be likened unto spasms. And, you know, when somebody experiences a spasm, normally it's your body going into overdrive to try and stop you from causing more damage to the area. So, you know, the question is, what is the integrity of the musculature like in the foot? So it could be quite an array of issues that could be the problem. And you'd actually have to just have it looked at, have it assessed to see what may possibly be causing the problem with respect to the cramping that's occurring. What is it that induces the cramping? You know, and that kind of gives you an idea of like what could possibly be the reason for that. But yeah, bit of a difficult one to answer. You'd have to, you know, have to have a bit more information. Hope that's kind of helpful.
That's fine, David. Thank you. But thank you for still answering. The other question is, do you have any information on autism, particularly in children? This person's son needs lots of pressure, still walks on tiptoes and loves deep massaging for joints, especially his feet and toes.
If I recognize, you said that this child has autism, is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
And they tend to walk on their toes, is that right?
Yes. Yes, because they want some information, because their son needs lots of pressure and they still walk on their tiptoes.
They need lots of pressure.
Yes.
You say?
Yeah, that's what it says on YouTube.
Oh, need lots of pressure. I don't understand what that kind of means. Not sure what that means, should I say? But with regards to the autism, big spectrum on autism. Okay. But I do know of an individual that whose son is severely autistic. You know, severely autistic, and they were able to use the seed nutrition to facilitate their son normalizing, and so the son they would have no eye contact whatsoever, and you know, it was just difficult to control them. But as soon as they started taking the seed nutrition, it's like eye contact was established, and they basically they bought a whole year supply to keep him kind of like on that pathway. But it's not surprising, you know, people who have who were suffering with dementia, when they start taking the seed nutrition, which is rich in omega-6 and 9, they found that their dementia has reduced. I don't know if I mentioned this last week. I probably did. I think actually I don't know if I did, but if I did, forgive me. They say as you get older, you start repeating yourself. You know, statins have a tendency to strip your brain of the fatty acids that keep them functioning effectively. And so they found that people who are on statins like simvastatin and atorvastatin, which are to help reduce issues with, like, you know, sort of like arterial sclerosis and sort of like, you know, build up of film in the arteries, which cause circulatory cardiovascular problems, suffering with dementia. And really what you need to do is you need to get your omega-6s in, omega-9s in, and that will help to facilitate the passage of your circulatory system, but also help to feed the brain the important fats that it needs to keep it functioning. And I think that's what's the experience this chappie whose son was severely autistic is experiencing.
Thank you, David. Thank you for that. The last one on YouTube that I can see is, can B complex be taken first thing in the morning after drinking a glass of room temperature lemon water?
I personally don't see why not, to be honest with you. Lots of vitamin C from the lemon water. If you want to get more vitamins in, or vitamin C in, you grate the skin into it as well, because there's a huge amount more vitamin C in the skin of the lemon than there is in the lemon itself. Yeah, I can't personally see an issue with, you know, you taking some B vitamin complex into your system after you've having done that. With regards to your, you know, warm water with some lemon is a very good way to kind of like an astringent to help cleanse the palate and also cleanse the digestive system in the morning. So, and it's particularly if you've got some issues, you know, like dyspeptic type issues going on, discomfort in the gut or whatever, that's always a good way to kind of like help to normalize the function of your gut, which, you know, has helped me many a time. But yeah, I think, you know, the B complex on top of that would help to facilitate just like nerve function just as well.
Thank you, David. Yes, thanks a lot for that. Someone was asking for the name of the supplement that you mentioned for autism. This is the seed complex. Now, I know last week you spoke about it, the soul something. Could you just explain a bit more about that, please, David?
Yeah, so the soul, basically, it contains the black seed oil, which contains the omega-6 and 9. And it's a very powerful anti-inflammatory. It is, in fact, more than an anti-inflammatory, you could say it's an adaptogen. Yeah, it encourages that adaptogenicity, which simply means if there's too much inflammation going on in your system, it will bring it down, it will tone it down. If there's not enough inflammation going on in your system to facilitate the healing process, because that's what inflammation is all about, it will increase it so that the inflammatory process does occur to the level to facilitate that healing and bring you out of inflammation into resolution. That's what the black seed oil also does. It also contains Chardonnay grapeseed extract, okay, which is a very powerful antioxidant, and also black raspberry seed extract in it with it's got some passion fruit in it for taste, and also has ribose sugar in it too, which is a 5-carbon sugar, which enables your body to process, get the sugars into your system without messing around with your glycemic index, so it doesn't affect individuals. And as I think I've mentioned last week, you know, it's like my father-in-law, his blood sugar was like up to 6.7, which, you know, 5.9 is the maximum what it should be. So he's really in the realms of diabetes or diabetic. And he took one sachet and his blood sugar went down to 6.4, just taking the sachets. So yeah, it's beneficial, definitely beneficial to the system in a big way. And that's, I've got many patients who are using this product that are really helping them manage their case, and it's basically shortening the time that I need to see them for, which, you know, is helpful to them and helpful to me.
Okay, you have a canine friend there.
Yeah, it's my daughter's dog.
Okay. Right, so can you just I know you had a slide for it last week, I think you did anyway, because some people are still wondering, soul, what's soul? If you
let me see if I can find it and pull it up for you. 1 second, yeah.
And whilst you're doing that, David last week spoke quite a bit about black seed oil, and I said that I've had it before, I've used it before, and my husband was asking, is it something that you, because he was hosting last week, is it something that you could put on salad? And I was like, I don't think so. He has now purchased some, and he's tasted it, and he's like, no, that's not going on my salad. I offered it to the boys because they wanted to try, you know, they're like, yeah, they'll try it, they can do anything almost, and they tried it, and actually one of them said it's not that bad, you know, and it isn't that bad. It's just about getting used to it, but it's not something that you are going to use as a salad dressing.
Aaron, we do.
No. Sorry?
We do. We love it.
You put black seed oil on your salad.
It tastes very nice.
Well, it's an acquired taste. Okay, Charlene and her family, they love
this
black
one.
seed oil.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Great
Thanks,
stuff.
David.
Okay, right. So, well, if you're up for it, ask Charlene and see if she can tell you the recommended quantities to put on your salad. Right, so do you have the slide ready for sharing, David? And if
yeah, let me see, okay. if see if I can just pull it up here. Hang on a sec.
Okay, so Charlene, how much do you put on your salad? Like a teaspoon?
Yes, I think we put it on it. I think we put a teaspoon, or what's on this one? Yeah, 1 teaspoon. So we put it just the
hang on.
At the side of our food and just mix it in. It tastes like thyme. We like it.
Okay. I've just had some salad, but no, it didn't have black seed oil in it.
Oh, no, we like it.
That was while I was off camera. Okay. Do we have any more? I've not seen any more questions in the chat, so maybe we'll be getting ready for next week's challenge. Or this week's coming, you know what I'm trying to say.
There you go.
Okay, there we go, David.
Yeah, no.
Again, Jamal, your phone, the food is on here.
Okay, Carol, we will just mute your mic. It's done, yeah.
Here we go. There it is. There it is. Just about found it. That's the this is the stuff.
So Rain Soul or Soul Rain, which way around is it?
It's called Soul. This Rain is the company that do it. We do the core as well, which contains all of this stuff. See if I can. I don't know if I haven't got my. There's a website that you can.
Well, we've got your contact details, David. So if anybody is interested, they can always contact you. You did put up a slide with your details. So if anyone wants to, can you just put that up once more? And if anyone wants to take a screenshot, they can see David's details are there, and you can always contact him for more information.
I don't know where it is now. Hang on a second. What am I doing? Hang on a second. Can you see my screen? Can you see my?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Can you see like my slides that I'm going through?
We can see what you're going through. It's not on slide. It's not on slideshow.
How do
Well, we could see it.
Oh, where am I? I'm confused. I'm confused.com. Hang on a second.
I'm not seeing anything.
Let me stop
Don't
sharing.
worry, nobody is right now.
I'm not
You
even
have stopped sharing.
I've
You have
stopped
stopped sharing.
because I have.
Here you go.
There we go. We're there. We got there.
Oh dear. There we go.
Okay, so for those of you who are interested, there's a website, there's a phone
That's
number.
the website I was talking about. That one. There you go. www.rainintl.com/Fuller Health DHB. There you go.
David Hanson Bartholomew.
Yeah.
And there's a phone number. It's a UK number for so for those of you who are international, well, we're all international to each other, but for those of you who aren't in the UK, for the phone number, you would need to put +44 and then drop the 0. So it'd be +44 7492, sorry, 7429 825 262. Okay, thank you for that, David. 3rd John 2, wishing you fuller health. Amen, amen, amen. Okay, so I don't see, oh, I have to put my glasses on now to read the YouTube. There we go. Someone's asked, what is seed nutrition? Oh, they meant what is seed nutrition? So we've dealt with that one.
Yeah.
The seed complex. And I don't see any questions in the chat. So is there anybody that would like to unmute with a question? We've got enough time for, I think, 2 more.
Sharon, I've got a question.
Hello, Joshua.
Yes, this nerve called sciatic nerve. What happens when somebody has got very serious pain on sciatic nerve? What happens?
Okay, so sometimes sciatic. Can you hear me? Yeah. Am I on?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. So sometimes sciatic nerve problems, otherwise known as sciatica, can come as a result of a disc problem. Yeah. And in particular, it's the discs L5, S1, which is the lowest part of your lumbar spine area, can be herniated, and the disc puts pressure on the nerve, therefore causing pain and symptoms down the leg. Okay. You also can actually have sciatica type symptoms from a tenderness in a muscle called the piriformis muscle. Piriformis muscle is a muscle that's deep to your gluteus maximus, or your buttock muscle, which is neighboring to the passageway of the sciatic nerve, which goes down your leg. Now, the sciatic nerve can either pierce the piriformis muscle. So the piriformis muscle has the sciatic nerve enveloped in its tissue as it passes through down into the leg, or it overlaps the muscle. Now, the muscle sometimes can actually cause symptoms that are sciatica-like in nature, but there may be actually nothing wrong with your sciatic nerve. And the muscles, the cause, the referral pattern or pain for that muscle is making it feel like you've got sciatica. Yeah. So that's the other thing that can cause issues. And then you've got another factor, which is what they call adverse neural tension. Now, if you imagine you put your arm through your sleeve, as your arm goes through the sleeve, it travels through the sleeve. Likewise with your nerve. When your nerve basically emerges from your spinal cord, it emerges via different routes from the spinal cord, and it basically forms one bundle of nerves. And as it passes out of the central region of the body and down into the limb, it goes through varied tunnels or sleeves, you could say. And anywhere along the sleeve, you can get adhesions or irritation of that nerve, which causes low-grade inflammation, which can put pressure on the nerve and cause sciatica type symptoms as well. So that's not coming necessarily from the piriformis muscle. It's not necessarily coming from a herniated disc in the spine, but it's actually the passageway or the tracking of the nerve through its passageway is being irritated, and that can be remedied by what they call neurodynamic exercises, which target the nerve, and you mobilize the nerve to facilitate that. With regards to the disc, there are sort of like disc modifying exercises that can help to reduce the protrusion of the disc against the nerve, depending on how badly the disc is herniated. You have 4 stages. You have a prolapse, you have a protrusion, you have an extrusion, you have a protrusion, you have a prolapse, you have an extrusion, and you have a sequestration. Okay, the latter is the worst of the two, but you know, extrusion is quite bad as well. You might need to have surgery from that, but a prolapse and a protrusion, you know, you could possibly kind of get away with those in terms of them being eradicated via conservative means. And, you know, hey, we serve a powerful God. So, you know, there are things that, you know, that man may not be able to, but God can do. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Let me stop sharing.
Yeah, sorry, I was just trying to find my unmute button or mute, whatever, and camera. So I'm there. So yes, thank you very much. It's definitely educational, and it's encouraging me to go back and look in those books and learn a lot more about, or remind myself of the muscles, not learn, remind myself of the muscles and what they are used to control. Okay, so thank you for that, and thank you, Joshua, for your question. We have one other question here on YouTube, and then we shall be looking to wrap up today's session with a new challenge. Okay, so the question on YouTube is, or the statement plus question: I suffer from spinal cord lymphoma. Would this be reason for whole body spasms? The whole torso, back, stomach, legs, etc. So that's a question for you, David.
What is that? A lipoma? Is it L-Y?
No, it says, well, it could be, but it's spelled L-I-P-O-M-A. This person's put on lipoma, L-I-P-O-M-A, but maybe it is lipoma as in L-Y. So I'll read the question again. I suffer from spinal cord lipoma. Would this be reason for whole body spasms? This is the torso, the back, the stomach, and legs, etc. So would normally the spinal cord lipoma cause the spasms?
Spinal cord lipoma. Normally, you know, these things tend to present themselves in sort of like, you know, the tissues, not necessarily on the spinal cord, but then it's not unheard of, I would imagine. But you know, lipomas, yeah. They tend to be your body's attempt to get rid of any dangerous toxins and surround them in fat. Yeah. You know, sometimes it can be in a place where it can be putting pressure on structures. So if it is putting pressure on the spinal cord, in terms of like the nerve roots that are passing out of what they call the neural foramina, which is the holes through which nerves pass through in the spine, then it's very likely, possibly, that could be the reason for the spasms that are being experienced and the aggravation of the nerves, bringing about muscle contractions and so on and so forth. If that is the case, then they more than likely, I would think that needs to be surgically removed.
Okay. Well, thank you for clearing that one up. And it is, yeah, lipoma is my pronunciation. So lipoma to do with the lipids and the fats. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That should have cleared it up a bit more if I'd have pronounced it properly, but never mind. Okay. Some say potato, some say potato, tomato, etc. Okay. That's me trying to dig myself out of the hole. Okay. Right, so thank you everybody for coming on. We have some of you on YouTube and Zoom, and we're going to invite David to share with us another challenge. As if last week's one wasn't hard enough, but you know, hey, let's go for it.
Okay, so this challenge is a little bit easier, yeah? Okay, all right, it's a little bit easier.
Thank you.
All right, so the aim really is to try and strengthen the quadriceps of the legs, you know, the knees, and it's just simply doing 40
40.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay. 40.
I don't even know what you're asking us to do, but 40 sounds like a big number.
But you don't have to do them straight off. You don't have to do them straight off.
Okay,
Just you know, just take your time, man. Do 10 and then break. 10 break, 10 break, 10 break. That's what I tell my patients. Anyway, now I tell you what, no. I'm gonna give you 2 exercises, yeah. The first exercise, yeah, is what they call semi-knee bends. Okay. So I'm gonna demonstrate for you. Is that okay? You want me to demonstrate?
That's fine. And whilst you're demonstrating, just remind individuals what their quadriceps are versus their hamstrings versus their gastrocnemius, etc.,
Okay,
etc.
so the quadriceps are the muscles in the thigh. Yeah, the ones that straighten your knee. Yeah. Okay, and all I want you to do is to do like you're going to sit down, but don't sit down. Come back up again, and then down and up again. Okay, right, that's a good exercise for the buttock muscle and for the quadriceps. Now, if you really want to help to support and strengthen your lower back, really good exercise to do is what I call lunges. Yeah, I tend to give my patients these quite regularly, and it's to help to strengthen the legs, but also strengthen the gluteus maximus, the buttock muscle. Okay, now that exercise simply is you standing inside, and you're basically coming down, just lunging down, coming down, and then coming back up again. Okay, down and up, right? And basically, what I want you to do is try and do, wait for it, 50 of those. All right, okay, no, your aim is to do 50. Yeah, but start off with 25. 25 on one side, 25 on the other. If that's too much, let's reduce it. We go for 10. Yeah. But when you're doing it, again, here's the disclaimer. Ensure that you're holding on to something that's stable if your balance isn't 100%. Yeah. All right. Okay. And that's it. And that will help to strengthen your buttock muscle, which really is a major contributor to supporting your lower back.
Okay, right. So I know there's going to be quite a lot of people accepting the challenge. We have quite a few female and male on the call, and who are watching as well. So this is you're probably going to want to come on next week, David, to hear people's feedback. Oh no, we got the live show. Okay, it will be the week after that we do the feedback. So you've got 2 weeks to work on these. The strengthening exercises. You have 2 weeks to work on these, and if you've missed it, you can always go back on YouTube and just, you know, fast forward to the challenge bit and see what it is that you have to do. You've got 2 weeks to do 50 of those exercises. Okay, so all the best, and thank you so much, David. Thank you for your presentation. And Edgar says we're calling on him again. Okay, right. So I hope everybody has appreciated and learned something new. And thank you so much.
My pleasure, man. My pleasure. God's blessing rest on you all, man. Cause his face to shine upon you and allow his countenance to shine upon you and grant you his peace.
Question, is that 25 each leg or 50 each leg?
The aim is 50 each leg. The aim.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But
you can do 25 in the first week and 20. No. is it 50 for the day?
Yes. I normally get patients to do it a couple of times a day, but hey, you know, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Juliet, for that clarification. All right then. So, Charlene, if there's no other questions or no other comments, can we say goodbye, farewell to those of you who are joining us on YouTube? So it's a goodbye from me, Sharon, and a goodbye from...
And it's a goodbye from me.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you. And so next week, if you remember, we will be doing the live show from Manchester South. We'll be doing a presentation there. So we will try our best to get the Zoom up for 3 o'clock, whatever we're doing at that point. It could be we're in the middle of live demos or we're in the middle of a presentation, a vocal presentation, but we'll do our best. And if you're struggling to get on for whatever reason, feel free to go back and review one of our earlier presentations on YouTube. There's over 70 for you to choose from, so there's plenty. There may be something that you've missed and you want to go back and catch it or see something new for the first time. There's plenty, and it could be David's previous presentations as well. So, and that was on arthritis. I think that was it on arthritis, David? Yeah. So if you type in True Tempers International in the YouTube search link and the word arthritis, you should be able to see that one as well. So thank you once again for joining us, and we look forward to catching up again with you soon, very soon. Edgar says hi. He's doing a thumbs up. He's just preoccupied right now.
No worries, man. It's all good. Listen, God's blessing. I got to duck out, man. But God's blessing the rest of you guys, man.
Thank you all.
Sharon, we will try and live stream on YouTube next week. We're
okay.
not sure how it will go. But also, would you like to run those promo slides again for those who...
Yeah, I will do that now. And then
YouTube.
Okay. Thank you so much, David. And we pray God's speed on whatever it is that you have to do, that you're running off for now. Okay. Look after that little dog. Bye. All right. So just to get the presentation slideshow running again. I think this is the one. I hope this is the one. Let's just go back. Right, so back to the beginning. Family Health Show Season 2, Fearfully and Wonderfully Made. This is what you have just been listening to. And here is the URL for our Telegram groups. We have the True Tempers International Women's Wellness Group, the Spiritual Health Group, and the Men's Wellness Group. The advantage of joining us on Telegram is that it's interactive. The WhatsApp groups, they're closed. We've kept that so that's admin only, whereas on Telegram, this is more interactive. So if there's anything particular that you wish to share or encourage us with, you can do that on Telegram, but you do need to have that installed on your device first. Whereas if it's on WhatsApp, this is where we keep you informed with our presentations, the shows that we're doing, and we remind you of the challenges and possibly some recipes and things like that. But everything goes on Telegram, and then we just put things on WhatsApp as well. But like I said, we can't get your comments, your feedback. Here we have the Bible studies on a Tuesday, 7 till 8 p.m. UK time, different Zoom ID and passcode. So please take a note of that. And this is being presented by Lewis Harris and Alvin McQueen. So that's Tuesdays. Then on Thursdays, which is every other Thursday, so the next one is this Thursday coming, there's a group of us from TTI that also are involved in sharing information about the benefits of the plant's immune system, also known as essential oils. So this week we will be looking at the 10 core oils which are available, which are used to help with many of your health conditions. So please join us. There is a Zoom ID there. There is no password, and that is 7 p.m. UK time. So that's this Thursday coming, the 10 core oils. I could tell you a few: frankincense, lavender, lemon, peppermint, and there's several others. Okay. This is the detox program. Sorry, excuse me. Where are you going? Okay, just be careful. Yes. Okay, right. Okay. The detox program, I believe there's one possibly just finishing up with Louise, but this is one for January on the 9th to the 18th of January, a 10-day detox program. So there is a phone number. Please call the number, and if you are interested in doing this detox challenge, well, I could call it a challenge, but it's a program. There we have next week's session. This is on the 27th, Sabbath, the 27th of November. This will be at Manchester South, Christ's Method Alone. This will be True TTI, GEM, Mercy's Door, Christ Talks Ministry, and Holistic Q. We'll be collaborating to bring a health and temperance day at Manchester South SDA Church. And this is a method that you can, or a conference coming up in December. So that's Sunday, the 5th of December, 4 till 6. And it's a way that you can learn about repurposing your skills. If you're in a job where you may be challenged whether or not to vaccinate and whether or not you will still have your job, come along and learn about what options there are available for you. And you can see the facilitators, Dr. and Pastor Sam Davis, the host is Joan Cornwall. Both of them have presented on TTI in previous presentations. And we have David Bartholomew, who you've just heard from, Laverne Pickart, Sonia Barnes, you've heard from her on this platform before. Lucille Fifield, you've also heard from her on TTI, and Dr. Chidi Ngwaba. So they'll be on the panel, and feel free to join this conference. There is contact details for registration in advance. You can see there's a www.ahreformers.com. That's all lowercase. And some olive oil, okay? This is from the Innocenta farm. You saw Dr. Sam Davis on the previous poster. He has a farm in Spain, and he grows olives, and he's able to make olive oil. So TTI are sponsoring this batch here. So we will be able to make some of these available. But if you contact us, we'll see what we can do to provide this for you. But it will be there at Manchester next week. And that's the end of our promo slides. So thank you all for your support. Thank you for coming on, staying with us to the very end. And you can see we do have our bank details if you would love to share with us blessings, financial blessings to support our ministry. It's like ministry is supporting ministry. So we really appreciate you coming on, sharing the details with your friends, with your family, and learning as we learn together to enhance our bodies for the kingdom of God, and encourage others to do the same. So thank you once again, and I end the screen share. Thank you. Jonathan.
So this is where we say goodbye to everyone on YouTube, and God's willing, we'll see you next week. Continue to look after your health and be healthy, wealthy, and wise. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.